it is time for us to explore the Notes app. All right, that's what we have for today, is Apple Notes. I've said this before. I said it with calendar. I said it with reminders. This is an essential part of not only productivity, but functioning in the real world, right? We got to be able to make notes out of things that we need to remember, need to jot them down. Maybe we even use this as a simple document creator if we don't feel we're ready for or don't have need of all of the really advanced features of Apple Pages. And we just want a basic place to get our thoughts jotted down, write a simple letter. We might use Notes for that as well. Now, along with learning Notes, because we are at that point now where we are beginning to explore an app that really does involve text, right? Because we're doing that, we need to go deeper in the areas of text entry and also editing and reviewing and editing the existing text that we've typed. So far, if you are new to VoiceOver and this VoiceOver course is your first really in-depth experience with it, all you have learned is very basic editing. We did just the rudimentary standard typing so that you could enter your passwords and get into your favorite apps, right? Or so that you could set up your email account, or, you could send a quick message to somebody. We have not learned the other typing modes yet. And we have not learned how to go back and how to edit what we've typed. And we really need to do that. So before we can even really start exploring the Notes app, I want to discuss and possibly demonstrate some of the different typing modes for you. And I want to talk a little bit more about text and entry and editing with the rotor. All right. I want to begin with the typing modes. Okay. So did you even know there were different typing modes? If you're a brand new VoiceOver user, maybe not. Or maybe you've heard of them, but you've never thought to explore them. All right. Here's the deal. We learned on day one that when VoiceOver is on, a single tap on the screen brings focus to the item on which you've tapped, right? We also learned that if you want to activate that item, you double tap. And we know that works with typing too. You can tap on the letter G on the on-screen keyboard and it brings focus to the letter G. And then if you want to insert the letter G, you double tap on it. So that's nothing new. The trouble is, in a situation where you have to type a lot, that may not necessarily be the fastest way to do it, because every single letter has to be tapped once, or you have to slide to it, which could take even longer, and then swipe to it, keep swiping left and right. And then, of course, you have to double tap on it on top of that. So this can take a long time if you're, writing a novel or even a letter. And there are some things that have, been created to sort of speed that up a little bit, like the split tap we talked about, tap and hold with one finger and then tap with another finger. You can do that. That definitely speeds things up a little bit. But what if we really are wanting to be able to increase the speed at which we type? Well, there are several other typing modes that VoiceOver supports, okay? And this is VoiceOver specifically. This is exclusive to VoiceOver. If you are not using VoiceOver, you don't need to worry about this, all right? This is for VoiceOver users. There are several different typing modes that can make things a little bit quicker, all right? And the major modes are, of course, the standard typing, which is what you've already learned. In standard typing, VoiceOver functions on the on-screen keyboard the exact same way as it functions everywhere else in iOS. Tap once to select or swipe to something to select, and then double tap to activate. In this case, double tap to insert a letter, a character, a number, whatever. Now, that's standard typing. There are two other major typing modes and one that's sort of a subcategory of the other. So the two major other typing modes besides standard are touch typing and direct touch typing. And then a sort of subcategory of touch typing is slide to type or quick path typing, because you need to use touch typing in order for that one to work. So we'll kind of call that a subcategory, even though technically it's not. And that's slide to type or quick path typing. Okay. We will talk about all of these now. So again, once more, just to review, if I'm in standard typing mode, it's exactly like VoiceOver is everywhere else. Okay. I tap on a letter, or I swipe to a letter, or I drag my finger to a letter, whatever. And then when I get to the letter I want, I double tap to insert it. Now, that's what we've already been doing. The typing modes can be changed under your accessibility settings, settings, accessibility, VoiceOver, and you'll find typing mode there. You can also change typing mode in quick settings. Remember, 2-finger quadruple tap, and you can go through the options until you find typing mode. You can change it that way. And you can put typing mode in the rotor if you prefer to do it that way. So there are 3 different ways there to change the typing mode. Okay. So the second typing mode that I'd like to discuss is touch typing. Now, touch typing, remember that these typing modes do not affect anything else on the screen. They only affect the way the on-screen keyboard behaves with VoiceOver, not the other elements of the screen. Okay. The touch typing mode, what happens is when you tap on a letter, that letter is spoken to you by VoiceOver. And if it is the correct letter, if it's the letter that you want, you will simply lift your finger and that letter will be inserted. If it's not the letter you want, you can just slide to the letter that actually is the correct one. So let's do this. So let's go into my edit field. Then I'm going to turn the rotor to touch typing.
Return. Mention misedit. Screen read language typing mode. Touch typing.
So if I start typing now, you'll hear me tap a letter and then lift my finger to insert it. Like this.
Cap H. Cap H.
Okay.
D. E. Semi L. 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 O. O. Space. Hello.
Now, if I try to type the wrong letter, I can just move my finger. I actually did that once there. But let's say I want to type a letter T, but I don't land on the T. I land on something else like
E. E.
I just
R. T. T.
See, I just swiped to the right, and when I finally found the T, I lifted my finger, and I was able to insert that letter T. So that is your touch typing mode.
Space.
And let me tell you about the third mode, which is direct touch typing. Now, direct touch typing, pretty much anytime you hear the term direct touch, it can mean a couple of things, but it's most often going to be a situation where it acts as though VoiceOver is off. Now, you're going to hear VoiceOver. You'll still hear spoken feedback, but the gestures are the standard gestures, not the VoiceOver gestures. So how does that translate to the on-screen keyboard? As soon as I tap on a letter, it gets inserted instantly. All right. And I lift my finger right away. If I hold my finger down, it won't insert, by the way, if you hold it down for about a second. But otherwise, if you just tap, it inserts. So I'm going to set the rotor now to typing.
Return.
Mode.
Mention edit. Screen recognition language typing mode. Direct touch typing.
And we're going to demonstrate some direct touch typing. I'm going to hold on the H to make sure.
Hotel.
And I'm going to now go. Here we go.
H E L L O space J I space I space A space T E F S.
Oops. Okay. I'm going to move my cursor there. All right. So what I just typed was hello, this is a test. And you can listen to that. There's going to be an extra hello in there from before.
Message text field is editing. Hello, hello. This is a test.
Okay. What? And I made a couple mistakes, but autocorrect fixed them. So I didn't even need to worry about that. We'll learn about autocorrect here shortly too. But this is my favorite way to type, especially on the iPad. I actually use it on the iPhone also now, praise God. But I started using it on the iPad because the iPad has in landscape mode a full size keyboard, and I can actually put my fingers where they would go if I were using a mechanical keyboard. I can use proper home row fingering, and I can just type normally. And as somebody commented on the other day, Cliff and maybe, I don't know, one of the other instructors or a couple of them commented on, sometimes I'll actually turn off VoiceOver and type on screen because VoiceOver can't keep up with me as well as I can just do it without VoiceOver. And so that is something, first of all, I of course give all the glory to God, but that's also a muscle memory thing that you can do by practice. But I'm talking, it's going to take a lot of practice. Now you have to understand something. I began using the iPhone in 2009, as soon as VoiceOver was basically brought to the iPhone. Excuse me. At that time, in what was called iPhone OS 3, there was no choice. It was standard typing. That was it. And then in iOS 4, touch typing came around. And it was probably iOS 10 or 11, if I'm being honest, before I really mastered direct touch typing. Now, in fairness, I wasn't using the iPad quite as regularly as I do now. I mean, it's a full-time device now for me. But, you know, once I really did start using it full-time, I made it a point to learn direct touch typing because it's so much faster than any other mode. And it's the most natural form of typing that there is. Now, I want to go over a couple of notes about direct touch typing. And I've demonstrated that as soon as you tap on the letter, let me go back here.
Period. Space.
See, I just tapped on space and it put a space in. If I tap on a letter, it inserts it immediately. If I hold on the letter, it doesn't. So like if I want to find, let's say the J.
Cap J.
See, I held it down for a second and then nothing happened. So if you need to orient yourself a little bit, you can do that. Now, what about a field where it is really important that you don't, like, let's say a password field where the letter that's inserted is actually silent? I used to switch to touch typing for password entry. Now I don't. But what you can do is this. Again, remember how I said if you tap and hold on the letter, it's going to read it without inserting it. So if I tap on a letter and hold for about a second.
Cap J.
Now, if I double tap somewhere else on the screen, it will insert that J. But I have to be way off of the keyboard. Because if I tap on anywhere that's the keyboard, it's going to insert whatever I tap on. But if I can bring my finger way, way up out of the way of the keyboard and do a double tap.
Cap J.
You see, it did insert the capital J. The key thing when you're doing that is you got to make sure that your fingers are nowhere near the on-screen keyboard. And sometimes that happens if you're swiping to something and you find a button you want to double tap on and you're actually double tapping on the keyboard. That's going to be a problem too. So you got to make sure you keep your fingers away from the keyboard when you don't intend to use it. Also, be careful with things like delete, because if you tap a delete one time,
Cap J.
It deletes. Return.
New line.
It inserts it. Delete.
New line.
It deletes it again. So you want to be very, very careful when you are using direct touch typing. It's not something that is necessarily going to come in an instant for you, but it is something I encourage people to play with because it really, when you master it, will save you so much time and it'll actually make typing a breeze. You know, a lot of us switch to, let's say, Bluetooth keyboards for the simple fact that we don't feel like we can get anywhere by typing on screen, and it becomes a source of frustration. Well, it won't if you master direct touch typing. All right. So that is a bit more about the typing modes. Now, we already know dictation. Some people would call that a typing mode. It's not really a typing mode, but it's another way to insert text for certain. And of course, there's others, which we'll get to later on in the course, like keyboards, braille, screen input, handwriting, braille displays. But that's all for later. But touch type, but dictation, we've already covered. We said to be very conversational. Don't, you don't have to be robotic about hello, this, it. No, you just speak. Hello, period. This is a test, period, And you speak your punctuations, remember? And the most important thing, as we said it before, and I know I harp on this, guys. I know this is like a soapbox, but it's so important because we want to represent ourselves the best we can. Proofread your stuff. We're going to learn how to do that today with the rotor. Okay. Don't just put a note in there that, hey, I'm sorry if there's errors because I dictated it. No, fix the errors. You don't have to be sorry. Just fix it. And we're going to teach you how to do that today if you don't already know, because we're going to be spending some time with the rotor. Slide to type or quick path typing that I mentioned. I have not spent the time with this that it would take to perfect it. So I'm not even going to demonstrate it, but I'm going to talk to you about it. The reason I also haven't spent the time with it is because I don't feel I need it, because I use direct touch typing all the time. And praise God, that's the method that works for me. That's what I prefer. I use it on my phone and my iPad. Now, I will say this, when I got a larger iPad, 12.9 inch, I had to rethink some of this a little bit, sort of like learning to do it all over again, but not quite, not that involved. But, there is a bit of a margin for error if you change the screen size of your device because things are spaced out differently. The 12.9 inch has a beautiful implementation of an on-screen keyboard in landscape. All the numbers are right up above the letters. So see, I can type
8, 5
numbers right up there, and I can, I've got a tab key on screen and a caps lock, and I can do a shift with the numbers and get the punctuation that's actually over the numbers. I mean, I love using this 12.9 inch iPad for many reasons, and that's just one of them. But yeah, it is a bit of a margin there for error. You got to spend some time with it. And the other thing is that, as I said, there is this slide to type. Now, on an iPhone, you have to have touch typing, not direct touch, but touch typing enabled for that slide to type to work with VoiceOver. On an iPad, you also have to have the one-handed mode enabled. Slide to type is not just for VoiceOver users, though. Slide to type was actually implemented for sighted users as well, and it is something that apparently some of the other platforms had before, and apparently some people requested it, so Apple did, implement it in iOS 13. It seems like people either love it or totally dislike it. I've not found those who are, very much in the middle about it. I suppose I'm sort of in the middle. I'm neutral. I don't care either way, but I don't use it. So here's how it works. It is a combination of your sort of artificial intelligence and autocorrect, really, or maybe quick type, which quick type is predictive text that we're going to learn more about here in a little bit. And what it does is it allows you to tap and hold on a letter and then literally slide your finger to the rest of the letters in the word. Okay. Now, what we have, so you tap and hold on a letter and you literally slide your finger to the other positions of the letters in the word you want to type. How does that work? What you do, let's say I want to type the word hello, like I demonstrated before. You tap and hold on the H. And when VoiceOver's on, you're going to get a little haptic prompt. And that haptic prompt indicates that you're now ready to do this quick path or slide to type. You're typing hello. So now you're going to slide your finger up and to the left to the approximate location of where the E would be. And then you're going to immediately, without waiting, slide your finger down and way to the right to the approximate location of where the L would be. And so on and so forth. It does not have to be precise. Again, precision doesn't matter because the auto correct and the quick type predictive text will fill in the gaps for you. And the thing about quick path typing or slide to type is that it gets better and better the more you use it, because it learns the words that you typically say. Okay. So again, you tap and hold on the first letter of the word, you wait for this little haptic prompt, and then you slide to the approximate positions of the other letters. Now, as I said, it gets better the more you type, and as you slide your finger, VoiceOver will read what it wants to insert. So as soon as you hear the correct word, you can lift your finger and that word will be inserted. You don't have to wait. Again, this requires touch typing mode, and it requires, you want to keep your autocorrect and your quick type predictive text on. This is something that's going to take time and practice if you want to do it. I haven't seen the need because I like the direct touch, as I said. So I tried it when it was introduced. I played with it sometimes, and I could get it to work okay. I could get it to work fairly well at times, but whenever there were problems, it was me. It wasn't iOS or anything, but I needed to practice it more if I really wanted to do it. And I just don't really, have any desire to, because I love direct touch typing. But it is there as an option for you if you want to use it. All right, so we have discussed all the typing modes. I'd like to talk about the quick bar, as I like to call it. It kind of goes by different names. On the screen of your iPhone or iPad, above the letters U, I, and O, okay, if you're, picturing the QWERTY keyboard layout there, directly above that, you are going to find a quick bar, and its function varies depending on what you're doing. So probably most commonly it is the autocorrect and quick type bar. Now, quick type is not to be confused with quick path, which is slide to type that we shared about a few minutes ago. Quick type is predictive text. Okay. And I think everybody probably knows what that means, but just to be sure, if I start typing a word, it's going to give me options of what that word might be, so I don't have to type the whole word. Or if I type one word, it's going to give me options of what it thinks the next word maybe I might have in mind. Okay. And again, this gets better and better as you use it, because it learns your behaviors, it learns what you say, and it works very, very well. That is quick type. And of course, autocorrect is, I make a mistake, the word is misspelled, and it's going to give me some choices as to maybe what I really meant. Okay. So most often, your quick bar above the U, I, and O is going to be that quick type predictions and autocorrect. Let me give you a little example of autocorrect or quick type.
Return.
All right. Let's try to type a word here. We've already used hello a bunch, so let's come up with something else. Let's type the I said we're going to do how are you.
Cap H.
There's my H.
Cap H.
I'm going to look right away above the U, I, and O.
Messages. Read a Howell's message. Send. Undo button.
I can also swipe to the right here, and I've got undo and
redo. Dim. Paste. Dim. H.
All right, so H is one of the predictions. It's just going to put an H in there and put a space after it.
Hi.
From Rachel Rose.
It's going to put, I have a second option, which is hi.
Hi.
And have is my third option.
Grab accent.
All right, and then it goes back to the keyboard. So I have H, hi, and have. And if I wanted any of these, I simply double tap on it to insert it. I didn't, though. I said we're going to do how. So let's see now.
Messages.
If in fact,
how, however, how.
There's how. We can double tap on that.
Do.
And you see now it's going to give me suggestions of what I might want to type next, like do,
much,
grab
accent, are,
and are. So how much, we're going to do how are.
You.
And it already puts me on you.
Doing, space.
I can put doing. And it even has today, but I'm not going to go that far. I'm just going to go ahead and put a question mark.
Question mark. Message. Text field is editing.
And so we can read it.
How are you doing?
Okay. So that's how easy it is to use quick type, autocorrect. Now, if I misspell something, let me see.
You question space G.
All right.
G question.
Let's do. Let me put let me like pretend. Let's misspell the word doing. And just put a
I. Delete.
Let's put a U. Okay. Now, if I'm actually typing the word doing and I put a U instead of an I, it's going to autocorrect that. I guarantee it. And you'll know because you'll hear a little bubble sound and it's going to automatically correct it. I don't even need to worry about it. Okay. But if I go back and edit it to deliberately put a U in there instead of an I, as I did now, so it's now spelled DOUNG.
G question mark. Question mark.
We're going to put a space here because it's got to be directly to the right of the word, directly after the word, either the punctuation or the space.
Space, doing, misspelled.
And it tells me right away that it's misspelled. When I teach you how to edit, you'll know that also as you go back through and read this, it would tell me again that it's misspelled. And for a sighted user, it's going to be red underlined, and you can tap on it and choose a correction. We're going to teach you how to do those kinds of spell checks with VoiceOver. But what I want to show you right now is that if I just delete the space or the punctuation that is directly after the misspelled word,
delete space,
I can go up here and sometimes it'll actually pop up a little menu, but I can also go up here to my
doubtful, doubting, doubtful, doubting, doing.
Okay. It's giving me 3 choices there. And I can pick from the one that I want. Now I'm going to leave this misspelled because we'll give you a chance to see how to do a spell check. So I'm going to do
G.
I'm going to keep it misspelled.
Space, misspelled.
And I'm going to try to misspell something else. So we have at least 2 misspellings. And this one, as I say, when I start typing, it's going to try to autocorrect, but I got to make it weird enough that it's not going to autocorrect.
TPDAY.
I think if I press space, it autocorrected.
Today.
Yep, it did. Even though I put a P instead of an O in today.
TODAY space.
It autocorrected. Let's try something really weird. I got to get creative here.
EVZYME.
Okay, that's really weird. It's supposed to be everyone, and I really misspelled it. I don't even know if it's going to be able to find the correct word based on how badly I misspelled that.
Space, Ryome, misspelled.
That's really, really misspelled. Okay, but it gives me a chance to teach you how to do a spell check. So again, if you're not a VoiceOver user, you simply see the word that's red underlined, and you tap and hold on it for a second, and it's going to bring up a list of replacements. Now, you have a similar option to that in apps like Pages and Notes, but there's also another way for VoiceOver users to do a sort of a global spell check. And what we'll do is we will double tap in this edit field, because one thing you're going to learn is that when you repeatedly double tap in edit fields, it moves your VoiceOver cursor back and forth between the beginning of the edit field and the end of the edit field. And I think we taught you that before. It's not only moving the VoiceOver cursor, but the insertion point, which is the system cursor that moves when you type. And it's moving you between the beginning and the end, back and forth. So if I go to this edit field,
send message text field is edited. Insertion point at start. Insertion point at end.
See, every time I double tap, so I'm going to double tap again.
Insertion point at start.
Now what I'm going to do is tap on the return key. So my focus of the VoiceOver cursor is on the keyboard.
Return.
And I'm going to set
the rotor to access misspelled words. Mentions.
Yep, that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to set the rotor to misspelled words.
Mentions. Misspelled words.
And I'll swipe
left or right to choose a replacement, then double tap to insert.
Okay, so we have to swipe up and down to go from misspelling to misspelling. So we're going to go to the next misspelled word by swiping down.
Doung. Selected.
There's that DOUNG. Let's swipe left and right, and hopefully I'll see doing as an option.
Doubting. Doing.
There it is. Double tap.
Doing. Unselected.
All right. Now let's swipe down to the next one.
Ryome. Selected.
I don't know, guys. Let's swipe left and right.
No replacements.
Yeah, that's what I suspected because it was really, really butchered. But When you're using the misspelled words rotor option, the cool thing is the word is now selected. So even though it doesn't have replacement options, I can have another go at it and I can type it again. And that's exactly what I'm going to do. And now I typed it correctly. And that's the last misspelling. See, you don't have any more.
Return.
So
Mentions. Characters.
set the turn the rotor away from that. Now listen.
Message. Text field is editing.
To our edit
Now.
field.
How are you doing today, everyone? Character mode.
See, so we fixed it and we didn't even need a replacement. There were none because, and I knew that would be the case because I had really, really misspelled it. But if you don't have a replacement, so let's just review these steps again. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to set the voiceover cursor and the insertion point, which are operating in tandem here, prior to, before, ahead of, in front of, whatever you want to call it, the first misspelling. I typically recommend just go to the beginning of the document, the message, the note, whatever it is, the edit field. That's why I just did a double tap to get the insertion point at the start, at the beginning of the edit field. I think that works best. Then you're going to set your rotor to misspelled words. And if you don't find it, just tap on a letter of the keyboard to bring focus to the keyboard and then try again. Because this misspelled words option is not something you have to add to the rotor. It's just dynamic. It's context aware. It appears when it is needed. And so you can just turn the rotor to misspelled words. And then you're going to swipe down to get to the first misspelled word. If it is indeed something you want to change, you will swipe left and right to hear the different replacement options. And when you come to the one you want, you just double tap. One finger double tap. And it is as easy as that. Now, if you land on something where you swipe left and right as I did and you hear no replacements found, remember that that word is already selected. So all you got to do is try again. Try a different spelling than what you tried before, and hopefully you'll come across the correct spelling. And, worst case scenario, if you still can't find it, you can always do something like this as well with Siri.
Nice.
How do you spell geometry?
Geometry. Geometry.
Copy.
So you can always ask
Message.
Siri to spell things for you, just like you can ask Siri for definitions and translations of words and stuff. So if you're really stumped, just ask Siri. Okay. But that is how you do spell checking. And that is how you do moving the insertion point to the beginning and the end. After the break, we're going to learn how to move it within the edit field. We're going to work today on the rest of this text entry and text editing. And what I'd like to do now is I'd like to talk to you about reviewing what you've typed and editing what you've typed. So far, of course, we covered the different typing modes. We covered how to check spelling with the rotor, which is what I would call the simplest option for voiceover users. Not the only option. And quite honestly, sometimes I prefer the other one, but we'll get to it. And we taught you about the quick bar, autocorrect, and quick type predictions. Now, I mentioned to you that quick bar can serve other functions in other apps. When we learn later about Safari and web browsing, you're going to learn that same auto bar is going to serve as an autofill bar in form fields, offering you the option to autofill your contact information, your payment information, and even to autofill passwords with keychain. And that is a wonderful feature that we're going to learn about when we cover Safari and when we cover security and privacy. And so that's all coming. But I would encourage you to just keep in mind that you always check above the letters U, I, and O to see what's up there, because sometimes it's corrections, predictions, autofill. There's all kinds of things that bar can do up there. And when we start talking about filling out forms, it's going to be really convenient. All right. What I want to do now, though, is I want to talk about the idea of now you've typed something, whichever typing mode you used or you dictated it, it doesn't matter. How do we go back and how do we read what we've typed? Because we've been harping on that, right? We said, make sure you review what you typed. Well, how do we do it? Well, we're going to use the rotor. That's for sure. And we're going to be able to review text, select text, copy and paste, delete, anything we want to do, all using the rotor. Now, what we want is we want to type some text first so that I can show it to you. And then I'm going to set the rotor to characters, to words, or to lines. When you have enough lines of text, then the lines rotor option usually becomes available if you've chosen to include it in the rotor. And this is what we will do. We'll set the rotor to one of those, and then we'll use one finger. We'll swipe up or down. And when we do, we're moving the voiceover cursor, but in edit fields, we're also moving the insertion point. Remember that insertion point is the system cursor, okay? And so we're moving both when in most edit fields. And that's good because that's how we can make changes very easily. Now, I want to explain to you the position of the cursor with respect to what you hear. But in order to do that, I do need to type some text, okay? So I'm just going to go into a blank edit field somewhere. And I'll just use messages because it's just right here and I'm already in an edit field there. All right. I got the voiceover. I got the volume turned up. And we're going to type a sentence. The quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog, which is a really cool sentence because it incorporates every single letter of the alphabet. Now let's listen to it.
Apps message text field is editing. The quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. Character mode. Apps
okay.
Button.
And you heard it say character mode, which means my rotor is already set to characters. Now I've already explained to you that if you double tap in the edit field repeatedly, it's going to toggle you between the beginning and the end of the edit field. I also want to explain to you now that as we swipe up or down with one finger, whatever our rotor is set to, let's say, for example, it's set to characters. What we're going to hear VoiceOver say is the character that the cursor passes over. And I'm going to explain that in a little more depth, and I'm going to demonstrate it so that it makes sense. But let me try to give you an analogy that might make sense to you. Let's say that we have the instructor team sitting in front of me on a couch or on chairs or whatever they're sitting on. And they're sitting left to right in front of me. And let's just say the order is, I don't know, we'll just say Rita, Cliff, Sarah, Lynn. We'll just use that order. Rita, Cliff. Let's use alphabetical. That would be Cliff, Lynn, Rita, Sarah. All right, that's easy to remember that way so I don't forget. All right. Cliff, Lynn, Rita, Sarah. As I walk from person to person, the first person that I will encounter on the left is Cliff. Now, when I walk to the right, I'm going to see Lynn. But if I walk back to the left, I still have Lynn there until I get past her. So what I'm saying to you is sometimes you're going to hear a character spoken twice. If you swipe up and then you swipe down, you're going to hear that same character. Or if you swipe down, you've passed over that character. Your insertion point is now to the right of that character. But if you swipe back up with one finger, your insertion point is now to the left of that character. You've heard it a second time because you're passing over it. Let me just demonstrate it, and then I think it'll start to make more sense. I'm going to double tap to make sure my insertion point is at the start.
Insertion point at start.
We have the word the, and then the word quick. I won't go any farther than that for right now.
Cap T H E space Q U I C K.
All right, where is my
Kilo.
insertion point? It is directly to the right of the K. So if I type something, it's going to go to the right of what you just heard, the letter K. Now let's swipe back up, but watch this.
K. Kilo.
You hear the K again because the insertion point just passed over it. But where is the insertion point now? It is to the left of the K, not the right anymore. And so anything I type is going to go before the letter K. It's going to go between the letters C and K. And actually, if I do this, if I tap the edit field,
Quiche. Quick unsent message. Text field is editing. The quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog.
Now listen.
Character mode. Insertion point between C and K at the 9th position. Use the rotor to access misspelled words mentioned.
See, so it's very good about telling me exactly where the insertion point is, and it is what I said, between C and K. And it said at the 9th position. Okay. So you can be very sure you know right where the insertion point is. But remember, when you swipe down with one finger, you're going to the next item. You're going to hear what you passed over, and the voiceover cursor, the insertion point, will be just to the right of what was spoken, just after it. If you swipe up, you're going backwards. You're going to be before it. The cursor will be just to the left or just before what it says, what it speaks. This works for words, characters, and lines. So we've demonstrated characters. Let's set the rotor to words.
Words.
And now if I swipe down or up, I'm in the middle of a word, first of all. So
Quick. The
that's going up. This is going down.
The quick brown fox jumps over the.
Now, if I want to insert something, let's say I want to say the very lazy dog. What I'll do is I probably can just start typing right now, but I like to be doubly sure. So I've used words to quickly move to about where I want to insert the word very, but I'm going to set my rotor now to characters.
Characters.
And I'm going to make sure that I'm right before the letter L in lazy. So I'll swipe down.
Space.
And see, it's a good thing I did that because I actually wasn't. I was on the end of the word there, but I needed to be just one more space to the right. So now if I go down again, I'll hear an L.
L.
We'll go back up.
L. Lima.
And that's where I want to insert the word very.
V-Y.
Space.
Space. Very.
And now we
L.
see we have the L.
Messages. Cam app message. Text field is editing. The quick brown fox jumps over the very lazy dog. Character mode. Insertion point between L and A at the 42nd position. Use the rotor to access misspelled words mentions.
That's how easy it is to insert something and to use the rotor to sort of review what you have typed. When you use the delete, it's called delete. They don't have two like on a Windows system. You have a delete and a backspace. They only have one. It's called delete, and it's going to delete the previous character. It's going to delete what's just to the left of it. Okay. So, if I wanted to delete this word very that we just added in there, I'll swipe up.
L. Space.
Now I'm just to the right of the Y. That's where I want to start deleting. If I swipe up again, I'm going to go to the left of the Y.
Y.
We'll swipe back down.
Y.
Okay.
Yankee.
Now I can delete that.
Delete. Y-R-E-V. Space.
We had to delete the extra space too. And so now we have the sentence once again correctly. And I can verify that. I make sure.
E space L.
Yep, that's correct.
Messages. Camera app message. Text field is editing. The quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. Character mode. Insertion point between L and A at the 37th.
So there you go. Now,
to access misspelled words.
We've learned how to, of course, this is quick, a lot of information here. I encourage you to go back over this because I'm giving you a lot of information here in a very short sweep of the clock, as they say, but I think it's really, really useful stuff. So the next one I want to teach you is how do we select text if we want to work with multiple words or, you know, replace something that's there with something else, or delete, you know, an entire block of text and that kind of thing. Now, here's the thing about that. You want to go into your settings, into rotor settings under accessibility and voiceover, and you want to enable text selection in the rotor. At least it's my opinion that you should. If you don't, there is another way to select text, sort of the legacy way, I call it.
Screen dim. Send.
And what it involves doing a two-finger pinch and expand, like what you put two fingers on the screen and either spread them apart or pinch them together. And as you spread them apart, it increases what is selected. And as you bring them together, it decreases what's selected. You know, for us with voiceover, that can be a little tricky, and it can be less precise than this other method that I'm going to teach you. But this other method requires you to enable text selection in the rotor. Now, I have it enabled, and the good thing is this works in edit fields, but it also works in a lot of other places where there's static text, like on websites, email messages, and even in the Apple Books app if you want to select some text. What you want to do, there are several steps. The first step is to make sure that you position your voiceover cursor just before, or just to the left of, or just in front of, however you want to say it, just before the first thing that you wish to select. So we're going to select the word lazy, and we're going to take it out. Actually, I want to take out a couple words because that's going to not be enough to really give you a good demo. So let's
return out space.
Let's do this.
Space.
Let's add very back in there.
What space very.
Okay. We're going to delete very lazy now. Okay. And the first thing I'm going to do is put my voiceover cursor just before the letter V in very. So I'm going to swipe up.
Space. V. Victor.
Could have done that by word. In fact, I'll demonstrate that. Let's go way down here to the bottom. Set it to words.
Words.
Swipe up.
Dog. Lazy. Very.
Now I'll go to characters just to make sure I'm really where I want to be.
Characters. V.
Yep, I was.
Victor.
I swiped down and back up. That's what you heard. I'm to the left of the V in very. The next thing that has to happen is I've got to set my rotor to text selection. You know, two-finger rotate. Let's do that.
Words. Text selection. Swipe right to expand selection. Swipe left to shrink selection.
And it already told you how to do it. You're going to swipe right to expand what is selected. Swipe left to shrink it, okay, or to deselect what you've already selected. But here's what we want to do first. We want to swipe up or down because we can choose how we're selecting. By character, by words. What are we doing? So let's swipe up and down.
Line selection.
That's lines. We're going to do words.
Word selection.
If we swipe up again, we have
character selection.
Characters. We'll go down.
Word selection.
And we'll now start to swipe right.
Very. Selected.
Selected very.
Lazy. Selected.
Selected lazy. Now let's say
Dog. Selected.
Oops, I didn't want to select that. Swipe back to the left.
Dog. Unselected.
Dog is now unselected.
Bottom right corner.
And what we now can do, we have this text selected now. All we've got to do is we can delete by pressing the delete key. We can type something else and it will replace what is there. Or if we want to do anything else to this text, we turn the rotor right now to edit.
Words, character, mentions, misspelled edit.
And edit has a lot of options if you swipe up and down.
Cut, look up, share, undo, copy, cut.
Okay, so we can cut, copy, we can share that text, we can look it up in the dictionary, all kinds of things. We're just
delete, selection deleted, very lazy.
We're just going to delete it, okay? Now if we read
message, text field is editing. The quick brown fox jumps over the dog. Insertion point between space and D. Now the 36th position.
We might have an undo button.
The send undo button.
And if I do that,
cut. Message it. Camera message. Text field is editing. Very lazy selected. Character mode.
Okay, it brought it back there and it selected it again. So that's cool.
Delete.
We could delete again.
Selection deleted.
And that should be in your should be in your edit rotor as well. So you see that we can delete what's selected. As I said, if we wanted to replace the text, we just start typing and it instantly, deletes what was there and then replaces it with what you type. And of course, the edit rotor has, if you set the rotor to edit with the 2-finger rotate and then you swipe up and down, you have options for copy and all that. And once you copy, there's a way to paste from the edit rotor, and there's also another way. So I'm going to show you that now. This time, I'm going to actually use select all, which is in that text selection rotor, but it's also in the edit rotor.
Entire page, sent message, text mentions, misspelled words, edit.
Swipe up or down.
Select all.
There we go.
The quick brown fox jumps over the dog. Selected.
And then let's swipe up or down again. We should still be on edit.
Share. Look up. Cut. Copy.
We're going to copy it to the clipboard.
The quick brown fox jumps over the dog.
I just double tap to copy. It's still selected. So if I delete now, it's going to delete all of it. If I don't want to keep it selected, I just set the rotor to characters or words or lines or something, and I swipe down or up with 1 finger to deselect it. But I want to keep it selected because I want to delete it.
Delete. Selection deleted. The quick brown fox jumps over the dog.
Now my edit field is empty.
Hi. Record odd message. Text field is editing. iMessage. Insertion point at start. Use the rotor to access misspelled words.
I can find paste in the rotor.
Mentions.
Under edit.
Misspelled edit.
See?
Paste. Undo. Scan text. Paste.
All right, paste is there. I can also long press on the edit field, which is double tap and hold or a triple tap.
Message. Text field is editing. iMessage. Character mode. Insertion text from camera. Menu item. Camera. Button. Text. Paste. Menu item. Messages. Paste.
So
menu
I can do
item.
it that way too. And I can double tap and
the quick brown fox jumps over the dog.
Now my text is back and I've just pasted it in there. And
3:56.
it's already
6.
almost time. We're going to go to the team here in a minute. We're just about done. I was thinking there was one other thing I wanted to show you along those same lines, but if I can't think of it right now, we'll save it for Wednesday. But that is how we copy text, we can delete text, and we can pay. Oh, I know what it was. I've created a little shortcut gesture. So there are these new gestures that were introduced, I think, in iOS 13 that allowed sighted folks to sort of have shortcuts to paste and copy and undo and stuff. And I thought I could create some voiceover gestures to do that too. And I really like these. I think they're cool. I went into the settings into, accessibility and voiceover and then commands, and you find some empty gestures, you double tap on them and you can assign them to different things. So what I have is I have a 4-finger swipe up to copy and a 4-finger swipe down to paste. And that just feels so natural to me because it feels like, the 4-finger swipe up kind of represents you lifting that text up out of the edit field. And then a 4-finger swipe down is like you're dropping it where you want it. So let's just try it.
Dog period.
Okay. And so I'll just insert.
Message. Text field is editing. The quick brown fox jumps over the dog.
I assume it. Yep. See, it inserted it. It pasted it in there. I got it 3 times now because I did it twice there. So you see how cool that is? You can create your own gestures too. All right. We want to thank you for joining us today. God bless you, and we'll look forward to seeing you tomorrow.